Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And that guy in the middle is the man, the myth, the legend, and my homeboy. Ross
For
Jackson. He
now.
is, yeah, right. Until week one, and then we become rivals.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
he is such an amazing part of this Locked On Sports family. So we are excited to have him join us today to talk all things Locked On Saints. So, Ross, appreciate you stopping by. And of course, we always say we want 5-star reviews wherever you check out our podcast because we bring you 5-star guests like Ross. So keep on rocking with us wherever you download your podcast. And listen, we have a lot to get into with Ross. But before we do that, if you guys are looking for an alternative to how you shop for jewelry, Jarvis can tell you how to do that.
Let me tell you about BlueNile.com. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Let me tell y'all something. Like many years ago when I got married, I was struggling. I didn't like going into jewelry stores because you get hounded. You know, people get those commissions and they try to just beat you upside the head trying to sell your ring. Let me sell your ring. Let me sell your ring. But you don't have to worry about that with BlueNile.com because they have the simple online tools. Yes, they are part of the 21st century, 2022, y'all. Online shopping is the best way to go. And they let you choose your diamond shape, size, and clarity as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind, so you won't have to worry about her giving it back to you because you know it's going to be perfect. It's going to be the ring just for her. Now, let me tell you about how Locked On is going to hook you up. They got a special going on just for you. You can make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners, you get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. You know it's going to cost over $500. So that $50 is going to come in handy. All you have to do is use the code Locked On. That's the code Locked On plus every in the podcast exclusive engagement. Just use the code Locked On, and then you can shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today.
Yes, indeed. And you know what, Jarvis, you speak about uniqueness, one of a kind, being special. That is this Falcons Saints rivalry. And we're going to see it come to fruition week one right here in Atlanta. So again, we've got Ross here to talk to you guys all things Saints. And look, we're going to come right out of the gates asking you the obvious question, Ross, which is, okay, Saints seemingly moved on from the whole Taysom Hill at QB experiment. Seemingly, and maybe it's Jameis Winston's team finally. So I want to ask you this. Are you concerned about whether or not the Saints pass offense can actually bounce back? You know, darn near league low 51% pass rate, not very like New Orleans to be there. Or are you confident that Winston and that pass game will be fine because, hey, hopefully Michael Thomas will be healthy going back into training camp and you guys have Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave for Jameis to work with?
Yeah, they've done a lot of excellent things over the course of this offseason to try to bolster the passing attack. And what I'll tell you, teacher, is that, listen, it's going to be better than it was last season because there's no other way to go about it. It's the only option they have. Bottom of the league, 32 in the NFL last year when it came to passing yardage, but also only 30th in the NFL when it came to passing attempts. And even their yards per play was like 26 in the NFL, only about, I think it was 4.7 yards per play. So even the efficiency metrics weren't really there for the Saints offense last year. 30th in the NFL when it came to plays per drive. They just could not get anything really going. So I think that this New Orleans Saints offense, and particularly their passing offense, will be better in 2022. But a lot of it simply has to do with the fact that there's no going down from where they were last year. But yes, the new cast of characters will certainly help as well.
No, that's one thing that you think about, and with Jameis Winston, they also are going to have a new head coach in Dennis Allen, and we know how Dennis Allen's first go round at head coach went about in the Oakland Raiders. It didn't go quite that well for those you don't know. Now, I think one of the things that people are assuming is that Dennis Allen's going to take over the head coach and everything's going to be fine. The offense is going to be just like it was with Sean Payton, who I think, now this is going to hurt me to say this, was probably one of the best play callers in the NFL.
Ooh, say
that hurts my soul. that hurts my soul to say that. However, I think that is it Are people making unfair assumption that everything is going to be okay with Dennis Allen being the head coach of this team?
I think that making an assumption of whether or not everything's going to be okay or whether or not everything's going to not be okay is a little premature on either side of the spectrum. But I think that more specifically, the thing that I think Saints fans have done a good job keeping sort of perspective about is that things are going to be different, right? Yes, Pete Carmichael is still the offensive coordinator. He was a part of the architecting of that New Orleans Saints offense that we've seen from 2006 to 2009 when he was the offensive coordinator all through last year, 2020. So there's some consistency there, there's some cohesion there. But Pete Carmichael is going to do things a little bit differently than Sean Payton did. Dennis Allen is going to do things a little bit differently than Sean Payton did. We saw an offense in New Orleans last year that was kind of hounded by conservatism a little bit. Back, trying to keep Jameis Winston reeled in, all of that. And I know that there's always going to be a narrative around the 30 interception season back in 2019, but that was also a 5,000-yard passing season with 33 passing touchdowns. So if you're able to blend the aggressiveness, but then be able to tame the bad decision making, then you're in a much better place. But you have to be willing to be aggressive in order to really be able to benefit from that. Dennis Allen has shown that he's extremely aggressive on the defensive side. I think after a while, they'll look to be more aggressive on the offensive side. Things may not be bad. Things may not be good in New Orleans next year, depending upon how things go with the coaching staff. But the one thing you know for sure is that it will change and it will be different, even though they maintain some of the same pieces from the Sean Payton era entering the Dennis Allen era.
Yeah, and you talk about the defense and some changes along the entire Saints team, but particularly we'll talk about defense. The Saints, of course, lost Marcus Williams, but they added Tyrann Mathieu. They have Marcus May. So I want to know from your perspective, Ross, do you feel like that's an upgrade for the Saints secondary?
It's interesting. I think I think it is an upgrade, but it's specific to the Saints scheme. In some schemes and in some situations, a combination like Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams is better than Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu. But in the New Orleans Saints scheme, Dennis Allen scheme, which is completely built on the idea of versatility, multiplicity, being able to show one thing post-snap and then win by doing something different. Show something pre-snap and then win by doing something different post-snap. That type of disguising, having two guys that can do everything, right? They can both play deep, Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu. You probably want Marcus May playing deep more than Tyrann Mathieu at this point in their careers. They can both play in the box. They're both downhill hitters. They can both rush the passer. They can both, guard tight ends. They can both work in the slot. There's just so much about what they could do. Then you add in CJ Gardner-Johnson into that safety mix as well, and all of a sudden you have a very versatile trio that can do just about anything you need them to do on defense. So I do think that the Saints may have upgraded at safety, but it's specific to their scheme and what it is that they ask their safety to do. It's not going to be true with that same personnel across all 32 teams.
Well, they're definitely going to make Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder put in some work this season when they come to town, or when the Falcons visit there as well.
Hey, Ross, one of the things that, it's funny to talk about the secondary because we all know that the secondary and the defensive line kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
Outside of Cam Jordan, who in the hell is going to rush the passer for the Saints this year?
I think you're hoping that – it's a great question. I think you're hoping that Marcus Davenport has another good season from last year. He had 9.5 sacks last season, sort of became the guy that we've been waiting for him to become on that New Orleans Saints defensive line, but also still had some trouble staying on the field. So it's got to be a little bit of a combination of both. It has to be the production, but you also have to have the presence and the availability that meets that same level. So you're going to need to see a little bit more from Marcus Davenport in terms of his availability. But if he can produce at the level that he produces at key situations. He produces deep in drives, he produces deep in a game, and he produces situationally on third downs, fourth downs, things like that. So that's really, really nice for the Saints to have. But you're going to need a third pass rusher to get involved. Last year, they drafted Peyton Turner out of Houston, the defensive end. That's basically he is the absolute New Orleans Saints prototype. They don't like speed rushers that are going to beat you around the edge. They like power rushers that are going to knock the tackle into the quarterback, like you've seen Cam Jordan do his entire career. So if Peyton Turner can get into the mix, yeah, you know how it goes. You know.
Caleb McGarry too.
Yeah, it happens.
Give him a free pass.
But if they can get Peyton Turner doing that and producing at that level as well, that's really the other guy you're going to be watching to hope that it's there. The issue with generating pressure is going to be on the interior for New Orleans. Who's the guy next to David Onyemata? We'll be watching that during camp.
And Ross, the Saints find themselves in a similar situation to the Falcons, just in terms of having someone new under center, or at least trying to get someone who's now back whether that's a Mariota or a Ritter on this. And so my question to you guys, as the Falcons are looking at what's going to be with their rush game, what's going to be with the Saints run game, you don't know yet what Mark Ingram's suspension time, or excuse me, what Alvin Kamara's suspension time is going to look like. But you do have Mark Ingram back. So the question is, does he have enough left in the tank to really help the Saints leverage their run game in the absence of Kamara? Or is it going to be more like run by committee, where you really see Tony Jones and Dwayne Washington get a lot of touches so that the Saints are able to have a solid attack while waiting for Kamara to return?
Yeah, I think it's really the latter there, Tenitra. I really do. I think that they're going to be looking at replacing Alvin Kamara with a committee as opposed to looking at replacing him within the committee. You know, they're always going to use more backs than just Alvin Kamara, even when he's in the game, but you're not going to replace all 70% of Alvin Kamara snaps with Mark Ingram, right? You're going to try to get 40% from Ingram and then another 20 to 30% from Tony Jones Jr. The big question is, who's going to be the third person in that committee when Alvin Kamara is going to miss games? Whenever that happens, or if that even happens in 2022. Will it be Dwayne Washington, or will it be either another veteran that ends up coming in to work opposite or in addition to Mark Ingram? Saints always bring in veteran running backs during training camp. It's a thing. They're always looking. But there's also undrafted free agent out of Baylor, Abram Smith, who went off for 275 carries, 1,600 yards last year, and 12 rushing touchdowns. Can he be somebody that comes in as a promising UDFA, but also find his way out to the field with some special teams acumen, which is what's kept Dwayne Washington on the roster? He could be the one, and that would be the most immediate competition at running back behind those other guys that you already know.
Sounds intriguing and interesting. And if you guys want these questions answered, well, you know what? You better check out Saints Falcons week 1. It's actually going down here in Atlanta. So it should be interesting. And that's when hopefully we'll be able to connect with Ross again and start talking about keys to the game for both of those teams. So thanks again, Ross, for stopping by. And listen, I got to say what's up to you for my guy, Bo Johnson, who's like your number one fan. He told me to tell you hello. Love you to death.
It's my guy.
He'll be right there day 1, week 1. And thank you for stopping by ATL Day Ones. And guys, of course, when we come back, we're going to talk about For the Culture and a steal that we knew the Hawks got when they got that guy. But today, it looks like an even better deal than we thought it was. We'll talk about it